Hey friends, hey, it's Lisa from Black Women Stitch and the Stitch Please podcast. Happy Black History Month. And we are making Black history together because thanks to you, the Stitch Better Have My Money fundraiser has hit 74% of our goal. That's $37,000 raised. I am beyond grateful for this community, but we are not done yet. We need $13,000 more dollars plus $5,000 for 2 more months of housing. At a time when Black history is being erased, investing in Black-led projects like Stitch Please is more important than ever. Let's stick the landing and finish strong. Donations are tax deductible through ActBlue. Visit our website and donate today, or click the link in the show notes and donate today. Either way, help us get our stitch together and cross the finish line. Thank you.
Hello, Stitchers. Welcome to Stitch Please, the official podcast of Black Women Stitch, the sewing group where Black lives matter. I'm your host, Lisa Woolfork. I'm a fourth-generation sewing enthusiast with more than 20 years of sewing experience. I am looking forward to today's conversation, so sit back, relax, and get ready to get your stitch together.
That's what I was going to ask about. Now, you were saying that your mom came from a large family, and so she has lots of siblings. And it is, I think, when someone passes, the things that they leave behind, the things that meant a lot to them are really hard to manage. And clothes are especially difficult. Can you talk a little bit about how using the garments from your family can kind of help to do both, to kind of honor them as well as, I don't know, to kind of keep their clothing kind of visible and active and engaged with a bit?
Well, I think it keeps their spirit alive too. Making, and I have made memory quilts for other people too, or memory dolls for small children. I tell them, do not wash the clothing because you want to hold on to, scent is one of the most powerful memory triggers that we have. And my mother, from the time I was born until the day she died, she always wore the same perfume. And so everything is infused with her perfume. And I love that because if I'm missing her, I can just hold, a basket or one of the little rugs that I made. And also my grandchildren, and maybe if I live long enough, my great-grandchildren, I'll be able to say to them, your great-great-grandmother, this was her part of her wedding dress, or this was part of the outfit that she wore when I graduated from high school or college or something, and so you're creating a heritage piece. So many of our family didn't have huge means. There was not millions of dollars in stocks, but there was, grandma's apron, or the tea towels that she taught you how to embroider. Those are our treasures, and to be able to keep them and turn them into something that is even more useful and more of a treasure, which is also leading into the Project 112, is that you're keeping things out of the landfill. In my research, I discovered that for every single American, there are 300 million Americans. They're all contributing about 112 pounds of textile waste, particularly in the fast fashion industry. And so there's harsh chemicals and, poison dyes and that sort of thing that we're putting in our landfills and in our water aquifers. And so, so if you look, also because I was a nurse, you're right, I do a lot of research. People in poorer neighborhoods, lower socioeconomic neighborhoods, we have more cancers, we have more tumors, we have more mental illness and those kinds of things. And it's because of what's in our water or what's in our grounder. You think, oh, I'm going to grow vegetables and that will make me healthy. But if your soil is tainted, that's why sometimes you grow a carrot and it looks afflicted. It's like the carrot's got like 3 little carrots.
It's like, is that a carrot or like a person? What was that?
And so as we take, or I try to keep those things, and by the time the rug I made for the bathroom. By the time that thing wears out, it's going to dissolve. But
Mm.
there are rag rugs that are 70, 80, 90 years old that are still holding on. And so my big dream, Lisa, is I would love to go to each state in the union and teach 112 women to take 112 pounds of textile waste and create rugs and baskets to share or to sell or just to give away,
Wow.
so that you tell two friends and you tell two friends and you tell two friends, and we could seriously, because I know I'm not going to live long enough or work fast enough to get 10,000 pounds of waste out of the landfills. But if I can teach other people, then my legacy will live on, which is important.
Yes.
But I will also be leaving less of a carbon footprint on the world. So that's
Oh.
super important. So if you know 112 women in Virginia, I'm willing to go up there and teach them.
Listen, I was thinking, well, I want to get more into the details, but I was thinking this is a great place to have a partnership with a creative reuse center.
Hmm.
I have interviewed Janelle Dawkins, who is the executive director of Scraplanta. And they now have 2 locations in Atlanta where they do a lot of creative reuse. They keep tons and tons of art supplies, materials, fabrics, and textiles out of the landfill. This seems like a perfect workshop to organize, and people can bring their stuff. You can show them what to do. People, I think, have the same kind of idea about this as you do. Like, hey, I want to keep going. I want to not feel like I need to, buy fabric every time I turn around. And I also have these pieces that I cannot use anymore, or they're no longer great enough to donate to someone else. I just don't want to throw them out because you really don't ever throw anything away. It just goes out of sight. You know,
Exactly.
it's not. Maybe it goes down the street. Maybe it goes into another community. Um, but it does not disappear. It does not disappear. And so I think that's a wonderful idea. And I think if you, yeah, I really think that Project 112 is a great way, and also helping people to remember that, hey, you are responsible for 112 pounds of textile waste. Do you really need another t-shirt? Do you really need this, trendy pair of things that you saw because everybody else happens to have it? Like, what are we doing? I think one of my main questions was, and because I love how it's bringing in apparel, how do you do it? Like you said, you need a lot of fabric for it. How is it how is the process of assembling clothes? Going to the store and saying, hey, you need 2 yards for this, you need 3 yards for the back, and you know exactly what to buy. But what you're describing is totally different. Like you aren't buying yardage for this. You are using what you have. You are choosing pieces that honor the people that you love, so that you can kind of keep their story, their spirit, their light, their flame nearby. How do you decide what to do? How do you decide how many shorts and pants and shirts and dresses? Like, how do you do it?
You don't really decide, because
Oh,
you
you
just
don't decide.
have,
Okay.
my brother was a big t-shirt wearer, so I have like 30 t-shirts. And the small rug I made for his son took about 16 t-shirts.
Wow.
So because I wanted it to be big enough he could put it on the side of his bed. It
Okay.
was only like, maybe it was 24 by 36,
Wow.
and you're cutting it up into t-shirt yarn,
Mm.
crocheting it or weaving it. My favorite technique right now is the toothbrush, which is the Amish people claim that they taught that, but let's go to Sudan and look at how old their textiles are. Hello,
Yes.
saying so. But you take a safety pin or a toothbrush needle, and you have a working strip of fabric and then a running strip. You just kind of do a blanket stitch around them, and it just builds it up and builds it up. So it's
Oh.
very thick, it's very warm, and it takes up more fabric, but it also, they wash well.
Oh.
You can dye them. I'm going to put some in an indigo vat with my friend Ariane King Comer.
Oh,
I
wow.
love that. And one of the things I had to stay at a hotel I was out of town, and I thought, what do they do with all these hotel sheets?
Oh,
I asked, and they throw them away. And I was like, okay, so I guess I'll be buying a lot of hotel sheets. Um,
wow.
because
Seriously? They
yeah,
throw them, but don't they like industrial strength wash them and high power sanitize them and stuff, and then they throw them out?
once they're worn, especially if you're in a
Wow.
fancy hotel, and from a king size sheet, you can get 6 yards of fabric yarn.
Wow.
So that's a lot. And
That is a
this
lot.
formula, if you have 40 pounds of textiles, you can make a rug that's almost 50 inches square, or 50 inches square,
Wow.
sorry. And so you do 2 of those in a year, and you've almost met your 112 pounds. So if
Wow.
everybody thought about that, and now that winter is coming, you do want to do more indoor crafting in the winter.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
My vision, like I said, is to travel to each state and
Yes.
112 people. But I would love in like 3 years to have a great big exhibition of everybody's rugs that everybody has made, and
Oh my gosh.
and the baskets are my favorite thing. I just love, because I always as a quilter and somebody, I always need to put something else in another basket or something, and so
We need containers now. We like us a container. We definitely will use a container or a basket. There is something that we could use that for. Absolutely, yes.
and it's
So,
wonderful. Yeah, so everybody should, or not. I try not to shoot on people. I would invite everybody to that, and it's also very healing,
hmm.
soothing, just rhythm. It will give you a dopamine hit. It'll calm your spirit as you're working on that. I sometimes every stitch is a prayer.
Oh,
It helps you to calm down if you're just doing something that's repetitive. But then the color changes, especially if
hmm.
I have this. I've got 18 flannel shirts, and I've got 22 blue leggings or whatever, or blue jeans.
Right.
And the process of cutting apart the garments is also fun. And if they're garments that came from a family member, you go, oh yeah, we went to this place when they were wearing that or whatever. And so it continues to keep them front of mind. Yeah.
Yes.
So
It's like it's a different version of the memory quilt.
yes, absolutely.
It's like, yeah, yeah. And so, can you talk about the transition or the difference between a rug, which is something you kind of put down on the ground, and a basket? For some reason, the baskets sound very difficult. But then you are also from the tradition of the South Sea Islands where they make baskets all the time. Can you talk about the basket part of it? Because for some reason, I don't understand why in my head I'm thinking, but okay, I can do a rug, but I can't make it stand up on its own, like, and get a handle. Like, I don't understand.
What you do is, like, if I would teach you how to make a toothbrush rug, and let's say you do a round rug. So if
Hmm.
you want it to be, this wide, you want the base of your thing to be this wide, then instead of adding increases on your next round, you just let it go up the sides, and you just make your stitches kind of stiff and tight. And it's just
Oh,
it.
oh my.
And
Oh,
if
that's.
it's really stiff, then you use cording or rope.
Hmm.
I told people at church, every time I go to church, I'm going there to hang with Jesus. So he's like, I got this fabric. My grandma died. My neighbor's aunt, and
You're going to hang with Jesus, and they're like, I hope I see Cookie so I can give her these 75 pounds of Nana's fabric.
yes, and I have so much fabric. I even got fabric stored in the trunk of my car.
Hey, friends. Hey, I know you're enjoying the audio version of Stitch Please, and thanks so much for listening. But you're missing out on all the great stuff going on behind the scenes. That's why I'm inviting you to join our Black Women Stitch Patreon. For as little as $5 a month, you can see all the video versions of the podcast. Plus, you get some amazing swatch cards. You know how much I love these swatch cards. Look, see how cool these are? Oh wait, you can't see them because you are not yet on the Patreon. So when you join the Patreon, you'll be able to see this me showing you these amazing cards. We also have some great perks at the other tiers, like discounts, swag, office hours, and more. Don't be the last sewist in the group now. Head over to patreon.com/blackwomenstitch or click the link in the show notes and become a Patreon supporter today. We truly cannot do this without you. So thank you so much.
But it's all gonna, I'm starting to teach this, and so also the Gullah rag rugs, which is just. Can I talk about that for a minute? That
please do.
My friend Sharon Cooper Murray, who was in Quilt Folk number 14 with me, she was the Gullah quilt lady, and she has recently fallen ill and can no longer teach this. And the ladies that taught her in the 1990s, they have all already joined the ancestors, so nobody was teaching. And I thought, I cannot, even though I'm not Gullah, I got permission to be a heritage keeper, so I am teaching Gullah rag quilting too, which is also so fun and fluffy and beautiful, and it takes so much fabric. I did a piece that's at the Gantt Center right now, and it's 27 by 38, and it took almost 15 yards of fabric. And it's just
oh my gosh,
fluffy, puffy, because you're cutting your squares or rectangle pieces, and the closer you put them together on burlap. So I'm also recycling burlap bags, rice or whatever comes in burlap bags, so you don't have to buy. I'm trying very hard to not buy anything, to just get things out of the landfill or keep things from going into the landfill.
Yes.
A burlap bag, and you can just start doing Gullah quilting on the back of it. I'm using a Prodi tool because Sharon used to use an old nail, and I can do that, but you cannot take a nail into the Smithsonian or any other place that I've been teaching because it could be a liability. So you just So I found this tool, and one of the things that is fun and interesting about the Gullah rag rugging is it looks very much like the Boucherie rugs from people in Morocco. The black Berbers are doing that. They've run, they're no longer as nomadic, so they don't have as many sheep and goats to have access to. So they are doing rag rugs as well. And I was born in Morocco, so I thought this is a great excuse for me to get to go back.
Yes.
Commune with my African sisters and learn their technique and teach them this technique because it's very similar.
Yes.
There's Granddaddy used to always say there's nothing new under the sun. You just have to find where under the sun it is now.
Beautiful and so true.
Yes.
So true. I just want to keep going back to you wanting to be a historian and how you actually are as a culture keeper. That's what historians hope to do. Historians hope to create work that will clarify things, that will tell new stories, and that will live beyond them, and that other people can build upon and revise and make their own. But I think the idea that you were able to step in and say, I have sewing skills. I'm very committed to knowing more about the Black diaspora and making sure that we have what we need and that we remember our own ancestral gifts, that you were thought to be trusted enough to share this tradition, to make sure that other people can learn it and would know this story. And that is, I think, at its highest and best iteration is what historians do.
Well, I continue to want to say my friend Sharon's name and to honor her. And I was so glad that before she fell ill, she did teach me how to do this. And it's like, thank you, God, because there's nobody else doing it, but it's beautiful and it's fluffy. My granddaughters love coming over here and playing with the Gullah quilt because it's like, Nana, can we sleep under this? It's like, yeah, just don't throw up on it. They're babies, so you know how babies are. But,
oh my gosh. Yeah. But it also, I'm sure they know it comes from you, and that's one of the things about having quilts that you can sleep under, having quilts that you can kind of hold and touch, is that this is something that it's a connection. It's a connection, and that you continue to make these connections. You're connecting us to the historical past. You're connecting us to ancient knowledge that some people would not have known, or that many people have not known. You're connecting us to our responsibility in the world. Like, do you really want to leave 112 pounds of textile garbage for somebody else to have to deal with? Like, I think that you really are a quintessential historian in your method, in your research, in your devotion. I think that that is something that seems very clear to me. That this is what the best historians hope for. And it's what you are currently doing. And I think that's so great. And I'm so excited that we got a chance to talk about it and to learn a little bit more about it today. Now, as we head to wrap up, I wanted to ask the question that we ask everyone on the Stitch Please podcast, which is, oh, wait, we do have to ask one more thing. Your quilt cruise that is coming up in October 2025, how can people find out information about that? How can they learn more about that? And what can you share about that trip that might get people excited to? I mean, as if listening to these episodes is not enough fun. Tell us a little bit more about that quilt cruise in October 2025.
At the end of October. It is a 7-day cruise down the Mexican Riviera. We'll have 3 ports of call. So the days that we're in port, I will not be teaching, but while we're at sea, I'll be teaching. And I'll be teaching what I taught you, the cathedral window, using African fabrics, trying to keep the culture in the forefront of everybody's mind.
Yes.
The cruise is on the Norwegian Cruise Line. I've never been on a cruise before in my life.
Okay.
When they called me and asked me if I would teach this, I was like, let me cruises. Nah. But Norwegian seems to be one of the safest cruise lines.
Great.
And the price is very reasonable. And for double occupancy, it's like $1,000 a person for
Oh, wow.
a room with a window, and everything is all included, port taxes and all that stuff. And the wonderful thing about working with this cruise company, it's Boozer's Cruise, Mr. and Mrs. Bruiser, they live in Alaska, is you do not have to bring your sewing machine on the boat, because there will be one waiting for you, and you take home a brand new sewing machine. It's usually a Baby Lock or a Janome. Very, very nice sewing machines. And so you just don't have to bring all of your stuff. You just bring your fabric. You don't have to worry about your needles and your extra sewing machine, which if you fly in, to meet the boat in California, which is where we will be,
Mm-hmm.
you don't want, if you're in New York or Virginia, what does your sewing machine weigh? 50 pounds?
Mm.
That's already an extra baggage. So let's not do that.
No, that's fantastic. It's much easier to just come and just feel like all you have to bring is maybe a few supplies from the list, but you don't have to bring all of the things that you would normally need to sew. So I really love that. That's excellent. So think about that, y'all. You get to have a quilt when you're done, plus a sewing machine too. Like, that's pretty impressive. That is very impressive. So we will definitely have this information available for folks to check out. But I definitely have to ask you the question we ask everybody on the Stitch Please podcast, and it is this: the slogan of the Stitch Please podcast is that we will help you get your stitch together. Cookie Washington, Culture Keeper, what advice would you have for our listeners today to help us get our stitch together?
Wow, that's a great question. I would say, let's look at upcycling. There's so many ways to do that with garments. You've got an old blue jean jacket that you're just sick of, or it's too tight or whatever. Just cut apart the part of it and add something onto it. Make it a beautiful poncho. Christmas is coming. What if everybody committed to making at least 3 handmade gifts using some sort of upcycled something? Take your old wedding dress and turn it into a christening gown, if not for your baby, for somebody else's baby. People in Florida and people in North Carolina have been devastated. They're going to need things, a bunch of old sheets that you are no longer using, and you can whip them up into blankets or rugs or baskets. please do that and get those to those people because they're going to need those things.
Yeah.
And anything made with textiles feels more comforting and it just feels like love. And so if we can do that, you will definitely be getting your stitch on, and you'll also be able to help somebody else. So just keep on creating. It's so important to create, tell stories. Um, you know, if you have never entered a textile show, enter my show. It'll be in May. Like I said, and I'll send you the link for that. This year's theme is honoring our ancestors. So it's going to be great. Lisa, you need to come down in May and hang out with us.
Yes, I appreciate the invitation and I'm excited. So thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you. This is so much fun.
Oh, you are amazing. You are amazing and a joy to talk to. And I'm so thankful that we got a chance to connect. I'm so grateful to have a recorded conversation with Cookie Washington, the culture keeper. So thank you.
Oh, thank you, sweetie.
You've been listening to Stitch Please, the official podcast of Black Women Stitch, the sewing group where Black Lives Matter. We appreciate you joining us this week and every week for stories that center Black women, girls, and femmes in sewing. We invite you to join the Black Women Stitch Patreon community with giving levels beginning at $5 a month. Your contributions help us bring the Stitch Please podcast to you every week. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your support. And come back next week and we'll help you get your stitch together.